64 Tacos Podcasts presents Is This Song Good? This is episode 42. Dave Matthews Band, Crash Into Me.
All right, we're back with another episode of Is This Song Good? We're talking about big hits and why they are big hits, and we're doing Dave Matthews Band, and I think probably his biggest hit, Crash Into Me. This was on the radio a lot, and it still is. It still pops up, and some of us have more strong reactions to Dave Matthews than others. Let's start with Zach's opinion, because I'm pretty sure I know what Dave's is.
So I got into Dave Matthews Band around that time, mid 90s, and it was I think it was this album, the Crash album, that really, I was like, oh, I gotta. What was was Crash Into Me the first single? No, it was Too Much. Yeah. Yep. And so I bought the album and I listened to all the songs, and it was fine. Like it had, I think it embodied a lot of the spirit of that time. We've talked about the different bands like Hootie and Creed that were on the radio and really gaining a lot of success. And this one's not very offensive to me. I think going back and listening to it, it's very formulaic, very basic, very repetitive, and it just doesn't really do anything for me anymore. But it definitely was enjoyable at the time. But I can see where I can't see where it got as popular as it did. But I think, if I had to guess, it would probably be it would be along the lines of Hootie and the Blowfish, that it was this sort of, the more folksy, soft rock type of easy listening crowd was like, oh, here's something that we can listen to and is not just for the kids, That's my hot take on it.
So for me, I don't remember Dave Matthews Band from before we graduated from high school, which would have been 97. So the fact that this came out in 96 was actually a bit of a surprise to me. My earliest memories of Dave Matthews Band is being around college-aged people, and all of them thinking that they're so cool because they know who Dave Matthews Band is. And just this aura of superiority because, look, let's go to the coffee shop and listen to Dave Matthews Band, because we're so sophisticated as college students.
Quick, put on your Birkenstocks. Let's go to the coffee shop.
Exactly.
Gotta have the Birks.
It just drove me nuts. And the song isn't terrible. I don't think it's particularly good, and it certainly didn't deserve the pomp and circumstance that surrounded it. I don't think they were revolutionary in any way. I mean, if anything, they're slightly more orchestrated Hootie and the Blowfish, and not as good. I'll take Let Her Cry any day over any Dave Matthews Band song. Hell, I'll take that whole first album off before any Dave Matthews Band song. And yeah, just it's mediocre light rock from the late 90s, and that's about it. And I have no idea why it got to be so big or why people were so proud of knowing who it was. So yeah, that's my opinion.
So I think of this song as like a power ballad from like a hair metal band, in that it isn't complex. It isn't. It's just a straightforward, little guitar riff, and then little turnaround for the chorus, and then it just loops back around. The Dave Matthews Band is it's sort of like, Fish or Grateful Dead light. They're very jammy, and they're very, very good musicians. Yes.
Sure.
And there is no doubt that those people make me like the band less, the people that are into this band. That's maybe a little unfair, but sometimes the band's fans can turn you off to the band when you don't.
Well, it's just like last week with the Creed fans.
Yeah.
I hated Creed fans. Yeah. But yeah.
Yep. So yeah, this one isn't particularly complex, but like the playing on this is very good. Like the actual playing is fairly straightforward compared to their other stuff, and so they have their sort of poppier songs, and they have their more interesting songs. I've always kind of enjoyed Dave Matthews on a certain level because they do try to be more. I mean, jammy is a little bit of a overused word, but like they definitely like they try to write interesting riffs and they're like, the drummer is amazing. I love his playing. I love the sound of his kit. Carter Buford, I think his name is. All of them are just very good. I don't love the violin and saxophone components of the band, but I've always been at a distance with Dave Matthews. I can admire them while not really liking them or enjoying them. So I think it's unfair to say they're just like a knockoff, Hootie and the Blowfish. Although this song is, in that a little more in that style, because they're definitely a lot more than that. That said, I've never really loved the band because it just, I don't know, it doesn't quite, bring me in. Also, his voice is kind of annoying. I say this loving, the way Billy Corgan sings. So, obviously I'm being hypocritical here, but it just doesn't, I can't really get into them. I remember when Under the Table and Dreaming came out, when we were like freshmen in high school. It obviously kind of passed you by, Dave, and Zach, you're a little bit younger, so maybe you weren't paying as much attention, but yeah, I remember being impressed with the sort of like they were far more they were more complex and better players than they need to be, which is maybe a negative because they sometimes they'll write songs like this that are just very simple, and I still kind of like this song. I never hated it and never drove me crazy. It is catchy and and accessible, which is why it was so popular, I think. And if you're not paying attention, it sounds very sweet. It's definitely someone creeping on some girl in her bedroom. So it's it's not sweet, and it's not. But it is a thing that people like. This one goes up to the one I love, the REM song. People misconstrue the meaning all the time, and oh well, what are you gonna do? So yeah, I don't hate this song. I kind of like it. I kind of like Dave Matthews Band, but not really. I don't know. I never have strong feelings about it. I'm impressed by them without really enjoying them. So that's how I feel about the song and the band.
Yeah, it's when I was listening to it, I was like, oh yeah, this is fine, whatever, takes me back, not a big deal. And then I got to the part where it was like, hike up your skirt a little more and show your world to me, and I'm just like, no, that's okay, Dave. You could just take that somewhere else. That's unnecessary.
With "I'm the king of the castle and you're the dirty rascal." That's the line that gets me. Where I'm like, all right, all right, your lyrics
if
kind of
I ever make it to that point in the song, it automatically gets turned off. I'm the king of the castle, you're the dirty rascal. Shut up.
But I mean, if you're not paying too much attention to the lyrics or whatever, I mean, this is great music you can share with your parents. So it's got that going for it,
Yeah, it's very safe sounding. It's very sort of pretty, and it's nicely executed. Yeah, the lyrics, the singing, you like it or you don't. I don't particularly like it, but yeah, I've never had a visceral hatred for the Dave Matthews Band. I just kind of, I'm like, oh yeah, well, sometimes I listen to it. Sometimes I'm like, nope, I don't want to listen to it. If they come on the radio, or they pop up in another place. But yeah, I can understand why people wouldn't like it. That's for sure. Because he has a very distinctive voice, and the lyrics are often either nonsensical or just like, all right, that's clunky, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this: when 9/11 happened, Clear Channel sent out a memorandum with a list of 100 or 200 songs on it that should not be played because they might offend people. And this was one of them. And I think they are spot on for this one.
Well, clearly he's talking about, the planes hitting the towers when he says crash into me. He's like, I welcome, the terrorist attacks upon America. Can never trust a South African, I guess.
Yeah, no.
All right. So makes sense.
If we have any hand in getting Dave Matthews canceled, that would make my day.
The terrorist and sexual deviant Dave Matthews.
Yeah. This is just going to get us canceled. That's just really going to happen.
That's fine. At least we'll get attention.
Yeah.
Anyway, 11 minutes ought to be enough for Dave Matthews Band, unless you guys have anything else.
No.
All right, nope. Zach, what do we have next week for our final in the series?
All right, next up, we're going to be doing Gangnam Style by the K-pop hit sensation Psy. So tune in and get ready for that because it's going to be awesome.
Sounds good.
I caught it on audio.